Hi everyone and welcome. Today I'm going to go over all the books that I read in September. Now, September was an okay reading month. I read a total of 6 books. 3 of them I listened to on audiobook and then 3 I read physically. And of course all of them were adult fantasy reads. Now, I did read 3 standalones and I'm quite happy with that. I started 2 new series and then I continued a series / read another standalone because it was a novella that's tied into a series, but you don't really need to read it and you could read it as a standalone. But I am going to count it as continuation of the series. Then unfortunately I also DNF'd a book and I will talk a little bit more about that one at the end of this video, but first I will go over the books that I completed in a chronological order. And the first book that I finished was a really short one, and that is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This is of course an adult fantasy standalone. It's only 240 pages and I read this one in a day and I vlogged my experience, so I will definitely link that in the cards up above. Now, the vlog was also kind of a non-spoiler review because I do give my non-spoiler thoughts at the end, and I greatly enjoyed this one. I think during my vlog I was really praising this one and I still believe it, but I have kind of toned down in the meantime, where I really liked this format. It was told in a beautiful way. I think that the fact that you have journal entries that you are reading adds to the mystery but also the atmosphere here. However, I think that maybe in my vlog I said that I really liked the ending, or I liked the twist that you had and the big reveal. I don't really know if I do now. Thinking about it, I think that I would have liked it more if the ending was a little bit different and if the reveal was different as well. However, I still think that it was done masterfully, and for that I will definitely reread it, and I still enjoyed it quite a bit, but not as much that this would be one of my all-time favorites, because I did have some minor issues with how the ending was handled, just my personal preference, to be honest. But if you want to know more about this book, then definitely check out the vlog. Next up, I finished a book by an author who might become one of my favorite authors if I pick up more by her. But that is The Bone Maker by Sarah Beth Durst. So this is an adult fantasy standalone. I read one other book by this author, which is Raise the Sands, another standalone, and I have a non-spoiler review for that one up on my channel, and I will link it in the cards. So I love this one. I think, just as with Raise the Sands, it's such a unique book. It has a unique plot, it has a unique magic system, it has unique characters, and to have all of that in just one tiny standalone, I think is quite impressive. In this one, you follow she's human, and she's also a bone wizard. Now, she is trying to revive her husband who died in the last war, but for this she needs human bones, and this is actually illegal. Now, this is already a quite interesting plot, but it only takes 1/4 of the book basically, and after that the plot widens and it turns into something that you're not really expecting, and the same happened in Raise the Sands, to be honest. Now, in this one you have, of course, bone magic. You have 3 types of bone magic and bone wizards, and it gets explained and explored here. You also have a quite interesting world, and as I said before, the characters are so unique, they are very distinct, and they all have some sort of growth or sort of development. Also, the plot, it's amazing. I can't really say anything bad about this one. And I think if you're looking for a standalone that's very unique, that's some sort of palate cleanser, that reads so easily, it's really a fast read, it is fast-paced, then this is one that I would definitely recommend. I really enjoyed this one. Next up, I started a new adult fantasy series, and that is the Ash and Sand trilogy by Richard Nell, the first book being Kings of Paradise. This is a grimdark self-published trilogy, and I recently finished the second book of the series, and I must say this is now one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. I really enjoyed this one. I must say that the first book is quite slow because you get to know more about the world, you get to know more about magic systems, you get to know more about the characters, but it takes you until the end of the first book to actually know what the overall plot is going to be. I didn't mind that, but just know that this is a slower paced book. This is actually a coming of age story of 2 individuals that you follow. You have Ruka and Kale. Ruka lives in one part of the world where it's very cold, very harsh conditions, and he is being treated as a demon. Basically, his mother should have killed him when he was born. She didn't do so, and because of this, these are both outcasts and being treated quite badly. Now, so you see Ruka growing up, and you see how these people treat him change how he acts and basically changes his whole personality. So that's definitely sometimes very difficult to read about. On the other hand, you have Kale. Kale lives in the other part of the world where it's warmer, and he is the son of a king, so he is a prince. However, because he is so privileged, he also has a lot of duties, and it's also a little bit of a difficult life for him, and you follow him as well. So as I said, it takes until the end of the book to really know what the plot is going to be, but I really enjoyed my time with these characters. I always like it when you have character-driven stories, and that's definitely the case for this one. But the second book blew me away. However, I will keep that for my October wrap-up. Just know that if you like grimdark fantasy, you need to give this series a try. Next up, I finished another adult fantasy standalone. So this was definitely the month of standalones for me. And that one was The Queens of Innisleer by Tessa Gratton. So I already have a non-spoiler review for this one where I compare it with Sister Song and The Once and Future Witches. So if you're interested in that, I will link it in the cards up above. Now, I enjoyed this one, but it's not an all-time favorite or anything like that. Because even though I like the plot and I like the characters and the writing style was beautiful, I think that the writing style was a little bit too much for me. It's very whimsical, it's very mysterious, it's so atmospheric, but you can see that the plot and the characters suffered for this beautiful writing style. You have entire paragraphs that don't add to the plot, they don't add to the characters, they don't really add to the world building, they just add to the atmosphere. And if you're somebody who likes to read beautiful texts and who likes to see an author play with words, then this will definitely be a plus. However, for me it was just too much. And as somebody who loves slow books, this was a little bit too slow at times for me. So I liked it. I would recommend it if you know what it is going in, but I think that it could have been better for me personally and that I would have enjoyed it more if she just cut down a little bit with the whimsical writing style. Next up, I finished a very small novella, and that was The Willful Princess and the Piebald Prince by Robin Hobb. So this is a novella that's set in the world of the Realm of the Elderlings, and I think that you should read it best after you read the Farseer trilogy, even though the events in this novella take place a couple of hundred years before the events of the Farseer trilogy. But in the Farseer trilogy and the trilogies after that, you often hear of the Willful Princess and of the Piebald Prince, especially the Piebald Prince. And in this novella, you get to know more about the Piebald Prince, who he was, who his mother was, and how the wit came to be in the Farseer line. So I really enjoyed this little snippet of extra information, and I am taking a pause in the entire Realm of the Elderling series because I don't want to finish it too quickly. So it's really nice to then read these novellas and short stories and still be involved in this world and get to know more and just enjoy Robin Hobb's writing style. So if you're also enjoying the Realm of the Elderlings, just know that there are novellas, there are short stories available, and they are just as good. And then the last book that I finished was a buddy read, and that is For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. This was a 2021 release, and it's also the start of a new series, which is the Wilderwood series. This was a buddy read together with Huck over at Badger Reads, and we really enjoyed this one. I think that she gave it 4 stars, but I will link her wrap-up down below. Now, this is a dark fantasy, and it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And I really like the atmosphere in this one. Now, this one and The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reid are both quite similar, or books with a similar premise, and I think that both of these were in my 5-star predictions video. However, I didn't like The Wolf and the Woodsman, and I will probably do a dual review of these two, comparing the two. However, for now, I will say that this one had the better writing style in my opinion, and I liked the story a lot more. Also, the enemies to lovers trope was executed in this one better. Now, I must say that the interaction with Red and the Wolf was almost always in life and death situations, so I would have liked more of a slow burn maybe, but still it was convincing. I also liked the magic system, I liked the setting, because most of this takes place in a malevolent magical forest, which is always nice, and I liked the second half better than the first, so that's definitely promising for the second book, which is For the Throne, and the cover is already revealed and it's stunning. So yeah, I will definitely continue with this series. So those are all of the books that I finished in September, and I think that I'm quite happy with them. I liked all of them, of course, in varying degrees, but none of them were a disappointment. However, I also had to DNF a book, and that was Magician by Raymond E. Feist. Now, I think that this was a 5-star prediction, and if that's the case, I really don't know my own reading taste, because at this point, I think I DNF'd 3 5-star predictions, and I only had 10. So that's definitely a little bit disappointing. In this one, you follow Puck. Puck is a kitchen boy, and then he becomes a magician's apprentice, and then he all of a sudden has a very important role in the war, the Rift War thing that is to come. I knew this going in. This is very traditional fantasy. However, it is so well known and so well loved that I thought it needs to have something special, right? It's going to be executed quite well. It's going to be a cozy read. It's not executed well, in my opinion. So you have Puck. Puck is a child. Puck behaves like a child. I'm fine with that. I can read from the eyes of children, like Fitz, for example, in the Farseer trilogy. I don't mind that. However, everybody acts like a child in this one, including the grown-ups, including the king, including Puck's master, the master magician. all of them act very childish, and it just felt so unrealistic. Also, his rise to become a magician apprentice was too easy. His studies were too easy. All of a sudden he was a genius, but nobody realized that before he became this magician apprentice, and when he was just a kitchen boy, nobody realized this. He had ideas of how to change things in the keep, and everybody was thinking or was saying, "Oh, Puck, you're so smart that I didn't think of this." And I was thinking the same thing. Why didn't you think of this, master magician? You've been a magician for 60 years and you need your kitchen boy apprentice to tell you these things. It annoyed me. I don't like it when books are unrealistic. I don't like it when the main characters have it too easy. Like he forms a relationship with a princess and he's a kitchen boy and a princess, and why? It annoyed me. And all of this that I'm telling you, these aren't spoilers. I mean, I was 50 pages in when I DNF'd it. So all of this happened in the first 50 pages. It was too much. I must say that I was listening to this on audiobook, so I might give it another try reading physically, but I don't think that that's going to help because usually I'm more forgiving with audiobooks. So I want to give it another try because I want to read the second trilogy, which a lot of people said was very good, but I think that I need to get through the first one first, so I'm going to see if I can. But for now, it's definitely a DNF. So those are all of the books that I picked up in September. Please let me know if you've read any of these and what your thoughts are, or if you want to pick any of these up. Also, let me know if you've read Magician and if I missed something somehow, or if it's just not my cup of tea and I need to let it go. As always, I hope that you enjoyed the video and see you next time. Bye!